Hello all, Shadwell here, ready to talk about the next film in my collection, Glen or Glenda from 1953. It's directed by Edward D. Wood Jr. and stars Edward D. Wood Jr. and Bela Lugosi. Well, here we go, kicking off my collection of the mainstream films directed by Edward D. Wood Jr. that are gathered together in the Ed Wood box. A wonderful collection of 5 of his films, which isn't all he did, but is the bulk of his feature work. I love this box set because it's a collection of the 5 major feature films that Edward D. Wood Jr. did, plus a documentary on Edward D. Wood Jr., although I will admit that while I've watched the films in this collection before at one time or another, I have never watched the documentary at the end of it, so that will be a first for me when we finally get there. But we're starting off with a collection with Wood's first film, Glen or Glenda, which tells 4 stories. One about Glen, who is a man who likes women and likes wearing their clothes as well, and becoming Glenda. This story gets the bulk of the runtime. The second story is about Alan, who gets a sex change to become Anne. This gets a paltry 7 or 8 minutes towards the end of the film. Then there's the third tale, which is about a detective interviewing a doctor who tells the detective about the tales of Glen and Alan. And finally, there's the overarching story of a rambling psychotic played by Bela Lugosi, who mostly sits in a chair and shouts barely coherent sentences that may or may not have anything to do with the next scene. I'm not joking about story 4 because although the Lugosi stuff is supposed to act as a narrator type like the Crypt Keeper in Tales from the Crypt or the Creeper in the Creepshow films, the way his character is detached and at the same time very involved with the story of Glen and Alan just doesn't work, and so it comes off as superfluous drivel. The rest of the film is surprisingly not the worst thing I've ever seen. When I first saw this and considering the time it released and its subject matter and the filmmaker, I thought it was going to be a disaster, and then I thought it would not have aged well when I saw it again for this review project, but alarmingly, other than the Lugosi scenes, it kind of works. It deals with its subject matter at most points with either clinical honesty or compassion, but never does it point a finger and laugh. It even properly uses pronouns when Alan becomes Anne, but even though it's not what I expected, it still isn't high art, and Wood's lazy trademarks are there, including visible crew in the shots and long shots of stock footage presented by voiceover to reinterpret it. I don't know, Glen or Glenda is a surprise, and so I'll give it a C+. Tomorrow it's back to the 50 awesome 80s films with the movie The Train Killer. See y'all then.